It's
Shift Talk Time!
Welcome to SingHealth first podcast ever.
Yeah.
Today we have Prof Tracy.
Tracy.
Tracy is fine? Okay, Tracy here with us for our very first episode.
Yeah.
So, welcome Prof Tracy.
Tracy, thank you for welcoming me. Thanks for
I'm sure
inviting.
you're not new to podcasts. We've seen your SGH podcast. So I'm sure this experience will be something that you are quite familiar with. So how this is going to work in our first episodes, basically, we're going to use this opportunity to know more about you and your leadership. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a game whereby you're going to be flipping a card that's in front of you. We have 5 cards here. One special card with me which I'll be asking at the very end.
Okay.
And 2 special questions that we will ask along the way.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is simple. Just flip the card, read out the question, and then share your thoughts with us. And then we will build the conversation from there.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Start
whenever
now?
you're ready, we can
Okay.
begin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can choose.
Okay.
So you're choosing inspiration first.
Okay.
Huh?
What inspires you to choose and stay in this track? I would say, maybe I start why I was inspired to even join nursing, right? So when I was 14, my grandmother passed away. And my grandmother was the one who raised me as a child, right? My mom was at work and all that. And my grandmother, of course, had chronic conditions, which of course at that time I don't know, right? Now when you look back, yeah, she died of CCF. But at that time, I was quite disappointed, I must say, at how the whole thing translated. We were left waiting outside in the waiting room, and this was in the old hospital somewhere in Singapore, which I will not name, but and there was no news. So she came in, she was very breathless, she came in by ambulance, and there was no news for at least 2 hours. And the only news that came out was, oh, your grandmother has passed away. So I took it very badly. And that was one of the reasons why I then chose to join nursing, because I didn't want others to feel that same way as I, right? So that was how it started. Along the way, I was given lots of opportunities, and because of the opportunities, it led me to where I am right now, right? So I would say, not so much of not that I went all the way out to fight for it, but it just came along. Now I stay is because of all of you, right? I want to see nursing grow, and I've seen how nurses have grown in the years. I've seen how SingHealth has grown in the years, and I'm actually very proud of our nursing community in SingHealth. And it's you all that kept me going for this long.
So actually, I think we did like a quick search about you to see like how many years of leadership
Very
experience
old
you have. I mean, the older side. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, like decades of leadership experience. So I'm just wondering, to just build on that question on why you're staying in this track, maybe you can share with us like what exactly within this, any moments within this journey that kind of reinforced your decision, to hey, I'm actually going to stay, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of ups and downs in these decades, right? Of leadership. So what any moments that you feel, hey, I think I should remain here? Yeah, anything you'd like to share with us?
As you say, right, there will be ups and downs. Every day is up and down, right?
Yeah.
Good days and not so good days. But I think two incidents in my life that shaped me and also reinforced. One was the Hep C incident in SGH, which you're all too young to know, right? But still not even in school yet.
What is this?
You can Google to find out what you want.
The other one was COVID.
Okay.
Both tested us to the max.
Right.
And especially Hep C tested nursing to the max. And I felt, at the time when this happened, I felt very dejected.
Yeah.
I felt very low. I felt like the whole world was against us. And I had a duty to keep strong for my nurses. And along the way, of course, then I realized that, hey, actually, it's how the nurses reacted and how the nurses stepped up that reinforced, hey, I think I want to continue in this. Because the nurses who showed more resilience than me in both incidents. COVID was a perfect example, right? Boundaries were lost. There was no silo. Everybody just wanted, we will go despite the uncertainty. I had no issues with getting nurses to volunteer at CCF, at dorms, at wherever, right? And it was the nurses' spirit of resilience, of wanting to do better, of accepting things as they are. While individually there may be feelings, but as a group it was very strong. And those two really reinforces that I'm in a good place, to continue leading the nurses.
Okay.
I have a question. So these are the days that made you choose to stay in nursing. But I believe there are times where you're like, I want to quit my job. I don't do this anymore.
Many.
Yeah. So like,
Where do we begin?
yes, like which can you share some of the experience and the days where you face some emotions, and in the end, why didn't you
Like
do
really
it?
tested your limits, you know?
Different incidents along the way, right? So when I was a young nurse like you all, not even like you all, younger student nurse, I was posted, we all had mandatory postings, right, at that time. Then along the way, when I was working in ICU, when I was working in the wards, patients were the best part of it. It's the interactions from certain people, I suppose, that then question, why am I even nursing? Why am I suffering, right, at that point? But because of where I was coming from in terms of my value system, in terms of my perseverance, I suppose, I just continued on. And of course, things get better, right? As you gain more experience, things get better. You look at things more positively. You look at both sides of the picture, which when you are young, you don't, right? You only see your own point of view. Hep C tested me. Hep C really tested me. And I was on the verge that it's either I go or I will be asked to go. So that was that feeling I had. And I was even worried about public backlash. I dare not even go out in public during that period because I was worried there was a lot of anger in the public. I was even worried that, people throw eggs at me when I'm walking outside. That kind of self-doubt and all that, right? But as I said, the nurses pulled us through, right? And the whole team, I would say, senior management, the whole hospital were behind in that journey. I would say as I get older, so Hep C was my max. When COVID rolled around, I didn't think of quitting. It's just another one of those, right? So I would say I don't think of quitting anymore. I've never thought about it, at least for the last many years.
Leaders. And I like how you mentioned the nurses allowed you to kind of get out of that sort of trap. And that kind of shows that shared identity, that we don't really form, we associate ourselves with one another and we pull through these moments together. And COVID is not going to be the first. It's not the first and it's not going to be the last, like you mentioned. So I guess one takeaway from what you just shared would be that shared identity we need to have as nurses. Whether you're from SingHealth or any cluster, doesn't matter. Within nursing, I think that identity matters to kind of pull through those challenges. So I think, that's a good way to kind of kickstart this podcast and kind of on a good note, a message. So with that, maybe we can go to the next question. Now we have touched on inspiration.
Okay.
Yeah, what is the next value you want to tap
Balance,
on?
huh?
Balance.
Balance
Okay.
it out.
Something I guess our young nurses are always very particular about work-life balance.
Okay, what is your routine on your off day? It depends, right? So it depends on what is happening at that time, at that point, and whether you have to rush deadlines or you have to do something, right? So I think when we go on this track, there is no off, right? It's a continuation because you will have to pull through, right? And so at this level, we have sort of accepted that. But I like to cook and I like to bake, although I am a poor baker.
Favorite dish, favorite dessert. I think that's the most obvious thing we'll probably ask you next.
I cook for my girl.
Okay.
So my so she likes certain things, right? So she likes kimchi fried rice, so I cook
Okay.
that for her.
Okay.
She likes curry, I cook that for her.
Wow.
She likes cupcakes, so I'll bake for her. So even though poor baker, but okay, I can produce decent cupcakes for
But
her.
mommy made one, so everything's
Yeah,
nice.
I'm sure she'll like
Yeah.
it. And what was her feedback though? I mean, just curious.
She will eat lah.
She'll
So
eat.
She'll eat.
Like it or not,
Yeah,
she'll just eat
yeah,
it. Okay,
yeah.
that's nice.
Wow.
Okay, good. That's nice. So apart from cooking, baking, like, any other hobbies, or how do you spend time with maybe like your colleagues out of work? I mean, of course, you know, within work it's serious talk and stuff, but
Do you
maybe
like
out of
to
work.
travel?
Yeah.
I like to travel, but more with family,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
What's your like favorite country destination?
A lot lah.
One.
Finland was my best.
Wow.
Finland.
When I went with my daughter a few years ago, that was my best. Because I always like snow, I like cold. So if you come to my office, you'll see that it's like a blizzard inside there, right? Because I like cold. But yeah, so that was my favorite.
Okay. So traveling, cooking, baking,
Gardening.
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 Okay. So
I
quite a
love to
few-
get my hands dirty in the mud, in the soil.
Okay, so quite a few hobbies. And I think touching on that, I guess like the broader topic we're looking at is like work-life balance, right? Like I think, I mean, not just young nurses, right? I think nurses generally need to have that good balance of like, you know, doing work stuff and then out of work, you want to just chill, have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
So I'm just wondering, like, you know, how do you think like the future is going to look like with this as one of the core sort of things that we are looking for? You know, like the younger generation of nurses are looking for this, right?
Yeah.
So
Work-life balance.
yeah, how would you go? Like, how would you how do you see this? How do you value this in
Yeah.
like nurses?
I think we have come to a stage where there's no turning back, right?
Yeah.
The generations have changed, the aspirations have changed.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, I think it's good to disengage. So when I do my hobbies, right,
Yeah.
I actually disengage.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it becomes perpetually I'm thinking, oh, I have to do this, I have to finish this, how do I handle that? So when I'm doing, I disengage and I just focus on what I'm doing. So I think that's important, that nurses need to have that
Yeah.
disengagement from work, right? It's easier when you are not as senior, right? But that is important. And that's kick-started, right? So when COVID rolled around, we saw wellness
Yeah.
took a deep
Correct,
dive,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so the whole idea about how we are now into wellness and into work-life balance takes a different stand now. For nurses specifically, there are a few things, right? Nurses always want flexi hours
Yeah.
and flex rostering and flex shifts and etc. So we have tried. And I always remember, right, when there was a ministerial question in Parliament regarding flexible working hours. And then I had to pull out from our rostering system how many shift patterns we have. And to my surprise, we had 77 shift patterns.
It's one of the highest, I think, right?
That took me by
Singapore,
surprise, right?
Correct.
Wow.
Although we don't see it,
Yeah.
and it's not often, but when you pull it out, it's different timings and all that. But we are still constrained because of our need for physical handoffs. And so now we are exploring if it is not physical handoffs. Now with digitalization and using Note Buddy and all that, if that can be done off, limit the amount of time for physical handoff,
Yeah.
then I don't have to have very strict handoff timings. So the shift can end and start anytime in essence. Currently now, there's still a pattern to it,
Yes,
right? Because of handoffs. So that's one idea. There is talk about gig workforce. So when I look at literature from overseas, right? I just had one yesterday sent to me, where they talk about in a nursing service. Typically, like for us, most are full-time staff, full-time nurses.
Yeah.
In the US, and that has been for the longest time because of budget, etc., their full-time equivalents maybe is 60%. The rest are all temp, which means they come and go, depending on their work hours, depending on their work days and all that. And so they fit it such that you can accommodate those kind of scheduling. We have not quite gone there, but but I think we need to at some point,
Yes.
right? Our temp, we could say, is our nurse bank, right? But it's really not temp. But we were bending the idea about bringing in gig workforce like Grab, right? It's a gig workforce. You work at your own times and your own space.
Like
But we need
locum.
to structure the whole workforce dynamics. Yeah. But
Which
it will
can
come.
be,
It will come.
quite challenging to like, because 70 types of shifts, I can't even like fathom like just 3 typical shifts.
Yeah.
That itself is a challenge for like nurse, like clinicians, our sisters who are planning our brothers planning the rosters. Let alone 70, I can't imagine how that's going to work. But yeah, I mean, at least it's something that I guess our audience would know that there is such a thing.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you know,
Of course,
yeah.
more can be done, right?
Yes,
And
yeah.
I think gig is here. It will come.
Yeah.
And we will just
Yeah.
have to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
It's just how we structure our workforce.
True,
So I have a
true.
team who works on that now.
Okay.
How to better manage
Right.
nurses' need for work-life balance.
Yeah, I think it's a important. Actually, it's a good information also because I feel like a lot of most Singaporeans when they talk about nursing, they're like, oh, you got shift work, and then shift work, and then I'm like, oh, then when I tell them like my job is like actually 8 to 5, they're like, huh, nurses got 8 to 5 job? I say yeah, I have. It's just we don't have work from home because we cannot bring patients home. But yeah, I think for people who are interested in nursing, they also should know about this information. Maybe it's another option for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this work from home. I mean, I think virtual nursing is like the closest you can
Yes.
get to this work from home
Yes.
concept,
Yeah.
which is something we are kind of exploring and
Yes,
working
working
on.
on
So
it.
something
Yeah.
for like the nurses to look forward to, right? Yeah, I think that's something we are definitely going to be like waiting for updates from like you know on more about this. Yeah. Okay, nice. I think we'll go to the next question. I mean, the next value, I guess.
What do
we've
you want me to pick?
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to pick all.
Yeah,
So I'm
what you
sure
want-
maybe you can pick.
What you want
maybe
to-
Yenlin, you
Passion.
passion, yeah.
More passion.
Okay, never mind. I'm not going to do that now.
Okay, how long have you been a nurse and how have you kept your drive alive for this long? I sort of said a bit in
Something similar, yeah.
in the
Yeah.
inspiration, right?
Yeah.
So I've been a nurse. This would be my 40th year.
Oh my,
I never knew I would last so long in a job, right?
40.
I'm at my 4th year.
May I'll be 40. You see?
Wow.
40 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of touched it
Yeah,
earlier, but
yeah.
maybe you can share with us more about like what are some things you looked for and that you found it in these 40 years. So that we all have like maybe some of us want a good workplace culture, or some of us want like to make good friends. So maybe there have been things you would have looked for, right, at different points of your career. So what were you looking for that kept you going?
So when I went into nursing, as I said, how I came into nursing, right? Of course, we have a strong friend network. You know, when you're
Yeah.
students, right, you always have this strong network that goes around everywhere together. Then as you gain experience on the wards, patients kept me going, right? And seeing them recover, or even if they don't recover, or even if they pass away, that feeling that you have done your best for patients. So patients kept me going. Then when I moved away from patient care and I went into management, it is that whole swing. Patients still matters because we are here for patients, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we won't be in this job. But it's no more that direct interaction, but it is more of the collective. How are we delivering care? How is our quality? How are we giving that experience? And not only patients, but also caregivers. And then a huge focus is actually on our own people. Because if our people are not satisfied, not happy, not whatever,
Enjoyable to work with.
then it impacts on everything else, right? It
Yes.
makes your life miserable, patients get miserable. It's just down the line, right? And so a lot of effort is placed in creating that supportive culture, right?
Agree.
So that's one of like I suppose like the key things. I mean, I think that's what, like you said, all of us want that, right? You know, like good friends,
Yeah.
people you want to go and like you look forward to your shift when you like go and work with certain people.
Yes.
I mean, some, you know, I mean, let's not go there.
Yeah.
But you have
I feel
that,
sad when
you
a
know.
nurse tells me she drags herself to work.
Yeah.
I feel sad. So I have nurses who come and tell me, right, whatever that they are facing and all that. And we should come to a point where I don't have any nurse saying that
Yeah.
I actually enjoy coming to work. I don't drag myself to work. Because the day you drag yourself to work, it's the day that we have done you wrong
Correct.
in our system.
But again, I mean, I guess some personalities are just it's just you know, it's like just like that. You know, like, come on. I mean, we all have had that. We all have had that. You know, that moments throughout our careers, like you know, where there are certain times where you just, why is this person doing it? That kind of thing. Yeah, it happens. But like you said, you know, it's
how you
you know,
think about it, lah. I mean, along my way, I've met very good and I've met very bad, right? And you learn to not ignore, you still have to work with them, but sort of don't adopt their value system, don't follow what they're doing, hold your own principles, and then just adapt and focus. My take is that if you ever feel, right, if any nurse, for example, feel that, why am I even here? Then think back why you joined in the first place. Because that is your anchoring point.
Correct. And it's also true, like you mentioned, how if let's say like what a few people are like that, you know, it doesn't mean you have to kind of follow suit. You know, you can I guess the whole culture comes from how like the nurses respond to these situations. Like, are you gonna encourage that behavior? Are you gonna stop it? You know, if need be, even voice it out, right? And then perhaps over time change the way people behave, you know, and people like interact with one another. I think that is how that collectiveness in that sense is what's going to bring, like put a stop to certain, you know, it happens, certain behaviors in certain
because some behaviors you can't
areas.
change, right? People are stuck in their ways.
Some people are just
But
like that.
if there's enough that doesn't condone that,
Correct.
then that culture will change.
Change over time, True. Okay, I think we can go to the next value. I think that's like the last value you're seeing here, but we still have two behind and we have one here as well. Maybe we can go on to, we have responsibility left, right? That's the last one, right? Yeah. Mission.
What is the most senior management thing you have ever found yourself doing and thought, wow, this is definitely not my job description? Many.
Many.
One is performing.
Okay.
Dance.
Okay. Yeah, true. I mean, I think for all events, they
And
like to feature.
Come on TikTok with us.
So this one came to mind because yesterday the CGH team came and presented to me because, you know, Nurses Day, right? SingHealth Nurses Day. Institutions take turns to organize
Open house.
the Nurses Day performance. So it's actually SingHealth Med Board, the CMB's performance. But we have decided that we will join them, not let them flounder on stage, right? So the team of nurses were updating me yesterday on what my role would be in the Nurses Day. I said, okay, all right, okay. So it's not in my JD, but
of course.
okay, I will do it now. Yeah.
I mean, is this for some reason people like to watch? You know, like
how we
leaders.
drop things and how we
I mean, not drop things,
can't
but
sing and can't
you know,
dance.
Let's not go there. Okay, but yeah, basically, you know, they just like to see like you
Honestly,
guys.
I love it. Yeah.
Just on stage, you know, doing things that, you know, a side of you guys that, you know, perhaps we would have never seen. You know, I think that's it's nice. So maybe
I've seen last Nurses Day, I saw one of my surgeon dance apazi in front of everybody.
Yes.
And I love it. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so cute.
What is like one, like, I guess, terrible performance that you feel like I should not have committed to this? You don't have to name the performance, but was there anything like that? Like,
you made a mistake.
Like,
always, right? Last year I dropped the thing. But I wouldn't say worse lah. Collectively, we know each other's strength. Okay, I can't dance, I can't sing.
Okay.
I have people who can sing and can dance, they go ahead, right? But I think collectively, we all psych ourselves that we are there just to make people laugh. And if the nurses laugh, then we have done a good job.
I
Okay,
show you one
so
of
it's
my,
okay to laugh at us.
one of my mistakes last year. So I was the MC for Nurses Day. So at the very end, it was my last sentence really, and I said Happy National Day in front of everybody. Then I was like, oh my gosh, then I received a lot of message. National Day, Ayerling.
But it's okay. You make people laugh, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I guess that, I mean, that's not the whole point, but like, that's one of the, you know, Okay, apart from performance, anything else that you feel like, maybe even like work-related stuff, you feel like, why am I even doing this? Like, I mean, like, do I have to be the one responsible for this? You know,
Oh,
anything
that
like
one a lot of times.
Okay.
We are given or we are asked, hey, can you chair this? Can you do this? Can you... And sometimes I think, why me? I'm not the best person for it, but okay, all right, it's fine.
But you didn't say that. You didn't think of that for the podcast, right? When we called you for the podcast, did you think this was out of your JD? I hope not. I hope not. No.
Okay, I'll help you.
I hope not. Okay, but yeah. Okay, but I mean, yeah, it's I mean, yeah, like, if you have to commit to everything, right, it's gonna be, it's too much. Yeah. But I mean, yeah.
But if I always believe that if someone asks you to do something, that means they have some hope in you, right? And some faith in you that you can do it.
So you can deliver something like
Yeah.
there's some hidden talent that they want to just bring out of you.
Correct. Yeah.
Good, nice. Okay, we've kind of touched the 5 values in front of you, but I still have 2 more, which I think it's also quite meaningful to tap on. So we're going to touch on transformation. Okay, so the question is this: what kind of a legacy do you hope to leave for the profession? And considering how it has evolved from traditional nursing practices to like the modern day nursing that we are seeing currently. So what's the legacy you want to leave behind for us?
I want our nurses to be one, the most trusted profession.
Yeah.
I've said this at other forums, right? I envy the US where they do this poll every year, and nurses are always the top trusted profession, even above doctors, and they every year is top is nurses. So I want our nurses to be that. Whether it's Singapore nurses, of course SingHealth nurses, right? I'm very biased to SingHealth. Number 2 is I want our nurses to be empowered. And I have seen the change, right? I mean 40 years, of course, I've seen from where we were handmaidens all the way to now, right? And it's a good change. And I really want that. Because through our nurses being empowered and have the autonomy, you also create that positive public image, right? Where patients and caregivers will look at you differently. And I'll just share this. Not so nice, right? But I thought I'll just share. I've been doing scholarship interviews lately, the last few weeks. This happened my time, right? 40 years ago. 30 years ago, I still see this. 20 years ago, I still see a bit of it. But I'm surprised that now I still see, I still hear it. 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 who sit in front of me will say, oh, their parents didn't agree to their first choice of nursing. And when I ask why, because nurses do basic care. You know, they say saikang, right? Which I'm sad to hear that. Nurses have progressed so much. We are more critical in our thinking. We make decisions. We take on more roles. We are more autonomous. People value us. At least the healthcare team values us, right? And to hear that coming from the public is sad. Which means we need to do more to change that image. And I think as long as we are empowered and we show ourselves to be knowledgeable and add value, not only to the system, but to patient care, to whatever role that you are in, right? Then that public image will change. And that's how I want nurses to be. And along the way to make that happen, of course, then we have to all do all these initiatives, whether it's innovation, QI, GROS, and all that, just so that nurses can focus on what really matters and add value to patient care.
I think like the whole traditional nursing, it's more of like, I guess, nurses were in the sidelines. I mean, of course, I guess you can attest to that, you know, in the sense that maybe we now in the modern day landscape, we're looking at nurses at the forefront of many things. right, in, like you said, decision making or even, initiatives, whereby it's no longer a case whereby nurses are just supporting, we're leading, right? So I think that is the kind of change that I guess we are noticing,
Yeah.
like from what we hear from our seniors to
Yeah.
what we are actually doing now. I
Yeah.
mean, even this whole
Yeah.
conversation, right, that we're having with you, I guess that itself shows that there is this change in the way we approach leadership and how we,
Yeah.
like even like have a chance to talk to you, that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing. I'm not sure how it was back then. Did you
Oh,
get a job?
I wouldn't even dare to appear anywhere near the office.
Okay.
Because then the question, why are you here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Now
it's
the
a
question-
no-go.
now it's you asking us like
Why don't
yeah,
come?
why- yeah. So now the
Yeah.
tables have turned in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
So I guess that is how, right,
Things have
like things have
changed.
changed, right? So and like you said, the kind of legacy you want to leave, it's more of you want nurses to be like autonomous, and you want to also like show a side of nursing that it's just not just limited to bedside care,
Yeah,
which I think
Yes.
which I
Yeah.
think we've come quite a like a journey quite far in this, right?
That's why
And-
I'm proud of
yeah.
SingHealth nurses, right? That we have taken on that 6 tracks. We have
Yeah.
got many capable people in all
Yeah.
our 6 tracks.
Yeah,
And more, there are nurse-led initiatives.
yeah,
I hope there'll be more.
Mm-hmm.
There are still, of course, nurses who tend to want to take the back seat. So I get very annoyed, right, when if I see it's clearly a nursing's responsibility, for example, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's simple thing, urinary,
Mm-hmm.
urine culture or
Yeah.
urinary catheterization, clearly nursing, wounds, clearly nursing, but not led by a nurse.
Mm.
And then when I go and ask Chochok, right, why are you not leading it? You're the expert in this field. What? Never mind lah, the doctor wants to present, let him present. Never mind lah, somebody else can lead. I will give all the input. So I get a bit
Yeah.
upset.
Again, going back to that whole sideline thing, right? Like we're not.
So we should
there.
stand
Yeah.
out there and
Correct.
be brave and be courageous.
Yeah.
That if it's our domain, we hold. We shouldn't let others define what nursing is. We should define for our own profession what nursing is and what nursing should
Yeah.
be.
Or maybe you can like just very quickly tell us like, I mean, let's say there are people, nurses in this situation. I mean, sometimes it can be a challenge to be like noticed, right? To be that visibility can be a challenge when you're looking at like being surrounded by very capable doctors, and even people in the team. So like, what is one advice, or how would you suggest that nurses navigate this sort of like a power dynamic? Like any words of wisdom with regard to that?
From my own, right, how I have navigated is you need to be humble.
Yeah.
So you cannot show that you're arrogant because that gets you nowhere.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And you need to tell, you need to speak up
Yeah.
and prove to that person. Of course, you must have liao lah, right? But substance, right? Don't speak just for the sake
Yeah,
of speaking. Then
correct.
person just don't have that
Yeah.
respect for you, whoever that person is,
Yeah.
right? But if you know your stuff and you are courageous enough to say it out and your point of view, most often than not, that person will accept.
Yeah.
We are in the era that there is the power dynamics and the hierarchy are flatter than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
True.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, I'm glad that we touched this, right? So I guess it kind of also gives us some hope lah, in the sense that like there's more to nursing, and hopefully, like
Yeah.
maybe years down the road,
Yeah.
there could be things that we never even thought of now that we might see later, right?
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Yanlin, about this?
No, I think I think what you shared actually, to me is new, but I think I've learned how I should live my rest of my nursing life. I've always thought that we can just chill. I'm one of them that will make you a bit no, because I feel like there's a lot of people that is out there that can do all these things. But I do agree that nursing has grown so much, and we can actually do so much. Not just doctors. You have like APNs. They can actually have their clinic and prescribe medicine. I have thought about it before, but I always thought like, never mind lah, it's not my time yet. But I think it's always a journey.
Yeah.
eventually, if we want, we can pursue and we will go, go get what we want lah. Yeah.
We don't expect everyone to chiong and go all the way out, right? Not needed. But everyone should have a say in how I want to do patient care, how I want to innovate or transform my work, how I want to, even small things, right? That nurses need to step up and be courageous.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will have people defining for us, which is not good.
Yeah.
That's my what I want to leave behind, right? That we shouldn't allow others to define who we are. We should define for our own profession and define what our values are and define where we want to go from here.
Yeah.
And it can only get better. I have full trust in SingHealth nurses. And we only get better.
Yeah, I think having a leader to say this, I feel very encouraged to actually work harder.
With work-life balance.
True. Actually, like how you said, right? I mean, not all nurses, some nurses may not envision themselves in like you said, to be at the forefront. But then, like you said, regardless, I think everyone should have some level of autonomy in their practice. So it's never like they're being dictated by a doctor or I mean, of course doctors are the experts in their field, right? Not trying to question their knowledge. But there has to be a level of autonomy that nurses are given to even suggest. At least that's the basic. I mean, at least suggest, right? And then advocate, right, for what they think is right. I think that's what makes people feel like they are valued in the workforce. And I think without that, imagine just going there, just doing what's written there and just like getting through your shift. I mean, I'm sure some nurses would want, I mean, all nurses would want the bare minimum of that, you see.
So I would say 100% of nurses should do that, right? I always remember, I'm an ICU nurse, right? And I was in this particular ICU, again, I won't name where there was a what do you call that matriarch who is very, very fierce. Okay, she is no nonsense. When she comes on rounds, you better know your stuff. And I was a very junior ICU nurse, right? And I know that the patient was hers. And so I purposely read up on the case and I know whatever that's happened to that patient the night before. So I was on morning duty. And she came around her usual,
Very garang.
And nowadays, I am thankful doctors are not like that, but at that time, right?
Yes.
And the garangness, right? And because I could say what I know about the patient and all that, she looked at me and said, very good, huh? Good job. After that, her mannerism towards me changed.
Wow.
And that was when I realized that you need to know your patients.
And prove yourself.
And prove yourself. That's simple, right? I don't need you to chiong all the way. This is your bare minimum. You must know your patient. I do get, my pet peeve is when I used to have time and I come around and ask the nurse, so what happened to this patient? Oh, sorry, I wasn't on duty yesterday. So I don't scold, but I think my face shows, right, that you cannot do not know your patient. So that is the bare minimum I would expect. And that's how you gain respect from your team. Not only your nursing team, but the wider healthcare team, right? And of course, from your patient and your caregiver.
Glad. I'm glad that we. I think this leads us very nicely to the last surprise question. I mean, I actually have one more value, but I'm like, I think we've already kind of touched that quite frequently throughout this podcast. I think this last question will kind of will be a good way to close off our very first episode. So if there's one message you would like every nurse listening to this episode to take away, what would it be? And this is under empowerment, which we kind of touched on.
And she mentioned the word
empower, right? So I guess it's a good way to kind of maybe just give us a closing sort of a remark on what do you think that, and I would like to kind of profile our audience as a group that's just, they just like to be a nurse, right? And that's all. I mean, they're just happy to go to work. They're not looking at very fancy aspirations in life, They just want to feel, I mean, it's a career at the end of the day, but they just want to feel like it's it's meaningful and purposeful. So to this group of nurses, which I believe would be a bulk of our audience, right?
Yeah.
What is one thing you feel that they should kind of, like take away from this episode, or just from your experience as a leader?
Yeah. And I agree with you, right? For the vast majority, it's about coming to work and doing, and being able to go home and say, I did my best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is more than enough.
Yeah.
That is what we want that empowerment to be, right?
Yeah.
I would say to every nurse is keep your passion and always reflect on why you joined the first place. Hopefully it's for a good purpose. And also do your best every day.
Yeah.
Because we are dealing with lives. We are not dealing with things, right?
Yeah.
And so do your best every day. And that best, as long as I can go home at the end of the day and say, yes, I put in my best, I've done whatever, even if there are mistakes along the way, right? Nobody is immune to having errors.
Like
I had my med error before, right? When I was
Yeah.
a junior nurse, I gave a wrong medicine, I panicked, etc. All of us have gone through it.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't define you as who you are.
Yeah.
But knowing that you have put in your best and you have done your best for your patients and you're happy.
Yeah.
So that would be my message.
True. And also, like you said, knowing like your patient, right? Like knowing what is your scope of work to begin with when you start your shift.
Yeah.
I think it's like the biggest thing that matters to every nurse.
Yeah.
And that's something everyone can take away from this episode.
Yeah.
So
Because you are there 24/7, right?
true.
So you are the one who is best knowledgeable about your
True.
patients.
Yeah.
True. Okay, with that, I guess we have it is quite not overwhelming, but very insightful episode, where an encouraging episode that where we've touched on very key values that I think everyone values, right, as a nurse. So thank you very much.
Thank you for making it not so difficult.
I mean, thank you for even though it's not in your JD, you still came to do this podcast for us. I think, looking forward to more of such conversations, and I'm sure you're already interacting with many staff on the ground, but I'm hoping that more of our nurses can hear from you and just learn from your wisdom. I think that's I guess that experience is that power.
You have so much
you
to
know?
share.
No, so I want to tell all nurses, don't be afraid of your leaders.
Yeah.
We are here, actually we exist for you.
Yeah.
Without you, we won't have a job, right? So
True.
we are only here because whatever it is, right? But we exist for you. So don't be afraid to approach your leaders for anything.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, so with that, we've come to the end of our very first episode of SingHealth Nursing Podcast. So as the title of this, episode goes, the person behind the title, leading nurses with purpose and heart. I'm sure you've touched. What's all this going on at the behind? Okay, never mind. Okay, while you guys are doing all this, whatever you guys are doing. So I'm glad that in this episode, and this is a very, very nice way to kind of kickstart this podcast journey for us, where we're going to hear more stories of SingHealth nurses, and trust me, there are a lot of very interesting nurses out there in our cluster, and I think we're hoping to kind of feature these guys throughout this journey. And so do stay tuned and look forward to more of such episodes. And with that, we have come to the very end. So this will be our first episode of
Shift
Shift Talk.
Yay. Good job.
Okay.
Good job.
The very first time we had our podcast meeting, Tracy joined us and we taught her how to take a 0.5 picture. And today it's a tears.
You know, I showed my daughter, I posted it, right? And my daughter said, oh my God, she rolled her eyes.
I'm sure this
No, but
time
she
she'll
was
have
very proud, yes.
more proud of you.
Yeah, okay.
A second attempt, okay? We have a second attempt on
Let's
it.
do it.
Really, you have trust in me.
Yeah.
Goodness. I don't have trust in me. I can't even, my hand not long enough even to press it.
Okay, come. You can one. Okay, so my side got button.
Okay?
1, 2, 3.